Are you left wondering if attackers will find that one forgotten API endpoint and exploit it to expose your sensitive data or functionality? Hello, I'm Matt Slotton from Checkmarx Technical Marketing Engineering to show you how the new Checkmarx API Security offering will remove those doubts. It can help you identify vulnerabilities in your APIs and minimize your risk exposure through early threat detection. One key to API security is to identify vulnerabilities in applications and APIs earlier in the development process rather than after the code is written and the release is ready to ship. Our solution scans APIs at the source, so it doesn't depend on runtime solutions, such as web application firewalls or API gateways, as the only means of defense. API security is seamlessly integrated within our Checkmarx One platform, so it doesn't require changes to existing people, processes, or physical resources. Your existing AppSec, DevOps, and developer teams have access to the scan results, as they already do for results from our SAST, SCA, and Kix engines. They can easily scan projects already configured within Checkmarx One with a single click of the API Security Scanner. With Checkmarx API Security, we can identify vulnerabilities sooner and remediate issues at the source. Let's see how. Here we see the main user interface of the Checkmarx One platform, which is our cloud-based application security platform. In this video demonstration, we're going to use a project that we've previously configured. I'll navigate to my Customer Data Service project and click Scan. I'll go ahead and enter my repository URL for my application, then click Fetch Branches and select the master branch. I'll leave the remaining options selected and click Next to now select which scanners I would like to use on this project. For this demo, I'll go ahead and select the SAST and API security scanners. Note that in order to perform an API security scan, I must enable a SAST scan as well, since API security scan results will always be a subset of the SAST scan results. As that scan runs, let's take a look at the results from another project I had scanned previously, called ATM Service. I can view the overview of the results from the two scan engines I'd previously selected. Here we can see a number of results have been detected across the different scanners. Note that there are 11 SAST results marked as high, but of those, only 4 relate to my application's APIs. I'll go ahead and click Go to Project to review the results from the multiple scans. Here I can see an overview of all results from each scan engine. If I scroll down, we can see the OWASP Top 10 API compliance vulnerabilities. Speaking of the OWASP Top 10 API, it's worth noting that our very own Erez Yalan, VP of AppSec Research here at Checkmarx, was a primary contributor to the open source project, so you can rest assured that Checkmarx is the authority when it comes to ensuring API security. I can dive into the specific API security scan findings by selecting the Scanners tab. Here we see a breakdown of my SAST results, but let's focus in on the API security results. Note how Checkmarx One provides an intuitive visualization of the results, enumerating the number of detected APIs, the number of sensitive data APIs, results by risk, and results by vulnerability. I can dive into the individual results by clicking View Results in the upper right-hand corner, and I can sort through scan results or search for a specific risk using the search box. Note we have a mix of both new and recurrent risks, which means we've introduced some new API vulnerabilities since our previous scan. Here we see 2 discovered SQL injection vulnerabilities, and they're both on the same API endpoint, bank info. This is a good example of a potential API endpoint that was not designed with security in mind. From here I can dive into a detailed view of each risk found from the scan. Let's choose the first SQL injection risk, which is marked as high, to see what the scanner has found. Here I can see the API endpoint path, the methods within the endpoint that potentially expose the risk, and the data origin. In the details section, I can view the actual potential vulnerability and see in which file and line where it was found. By mapping the finding within our SAST scan results, I can see within the code the line number and specific parameter that the discovered API vulnerability points to, as well as a description of the potential vulnerability, giving me some guidance on how to address it within my code. In the parameters section, we can see what data parameters are passed as part of the request to the API endpoint, and what is returned within the response. As evident in this example, we can see that not only do we have a risk of SQL injection attack as identified in our SAST scan, that vulnerability is potentially exploitable via an API endpoint as well. If a bad actor were to attack this API, they would have access to the application's most critical data, such as the username and passwords of users configured within the application. These detailed results are great for developers, but how do security leaders take control? I can navigate to the global API inventory on the left pane and sort my inventory by project name. Note that the second result is the API endpoint we looked at earlier, the bank info endpoint. As a security leader, I can have a single view of my API vulnerabilities with many of the same data points that developers see. If I choose this bank info endpoint, I can drill into the vulnerability results and see a breakdown of risks for this one specific endpoint. We can see someone recently changed this API and all of the parameters that could be exposed on it. This raises a red flag at development time to security that this API will need additional governance or controls implemented in advance of our rollout to production. API security is embedded in Checkmarx One, so you can leverage the platform's benefits to run API security scans. For instance, you can set scans to trigger on push or pull events within GitHub, you can log issues automatically within Jira or GitHub issues, or you can view or triage scan results directly within your IDE of choice. To learn more about Checkmarx API Security, reach out via our website at www.checkmarx.com, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more product and solution updates.